Welcome to Fun and Fundraising, everybody, the podcast where we talk with people behind top nonprofit galas and signature fundraising events to showcase how they positively transform their communities. I'm your host, Rob Giardinelli, and today I'm really excited to have Priscilla Dickson on as a guest. Priscilla is the founder and owner of Priscilla Dickson Photography, and she shoots so many of the top events in Houston. And Houston is an incredibly vibrant and fun city and has just a really off the charts social scene. So she is going to be here today to share her expertise and her knowledge about how a great photographer captures the essence of your event and the enthusiasm of the people that want to be there, and how you can really use the event photos in so many other ways after the event as well. So I'm really excited for this conversation today. And with that, Priscilla, welcome. And I'm just so thrilled to have you here.
Oh, thank you. I'm honored and excited to be a part. I love your
Abs-
podcast.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. And I'm glad you love it. And I love the photos that you take at so many events. So, let's dive into it. Tell me about your path of becoming a photographer, because you were saying in the green room, it's a very interesting story. So I'm really, really dying to hear about it.
Well, it's really cool. I'm proud of my heritage. I am a third generation photographer. My grandfather was a photographer, and my father owned a photo lab in San Antonio across from the Whitty Museum called Alamo Photo Labs. My mom was a very well-known Texas photographer. Back in the day, she did a lot of weddings, not events. San Antonio is just different in that way, but she did a big South Texas photographer in general. But um, yeah, so I started with her. I graduated from Baylor University, and I tried to do PR in San Antonio, and it was a miserable fail on my end. So like a lot of good success stories start with a bunch of failures. I was definitely a failure at that. But my mother handed me a camera and told me, I will give you $800 to go photograph this wedding with me. And this was 1998. So that paid my rent. But anyway, so I went and did a wedding, and then I just got it. Like after that, I did weddings. So all in my 20s, I did weddings. Um, and if you want to chime in, chime in. I hope I'm not just
Yeah,
like
no, keep going,
so.
keep going.
But so yeah, I did weddings, and I was good at it and extremely sentimental and just understood capturing moments. So I my business grew, and then I met my husband, who was a groomsman at a wedding in San Antonio. It's a great story. We've been married 22 years. So yeah, but he was like, yeah, I'm in oil and gas. I'm moving to Houston. You going with me? And I was like, yeah, let's go. So we moved to Houston. Actually, that's where we started. So when I moved here, I knew nobody and I had no business. I tried to do wedding photography and failed at that too. I really tried, but all of my business was still in San Antonio, and it was too hard to commute and do that. So my best friend from high school worked at Neiman Marcus on the sales floor um, in Dallas. And so she said, Priscilla, you need to, like, I had to do something. So I went and I worked on the sales floor at Neiman's for 3 years. And not many people know that, but golly, that was, 20 years ago before I had kids. But that was where I learned customer service more than anything in this world, is understanding how to work with people, how to be on, if you can work on the sales floor at Neiman Marcus, you can do anything. So I learned a lot that way. And then after I had my son, I couldn't continue working on the sales floor, and I quit that. But um, my mother's best friend and a dear family friend was chairing the Houston Grand Opera Ball in Houston, and she told them Priscilla's shooting it. And I walked in to this career at the top. So I literally had never done an event in Houston that was at that level. And I started at the top, but I had to hustle and work really hard to stay there. So I did have, so it was kind of a different path, and it was a blessing to get to start at that, but it's not like I was just given this chance at the top. I had to really work hard to get there and to stay there. Does that make sense?
It
I don't
makes
know.
total, well, it makes total sense. And really, you had a background in photography, so it wasn't like you started at the top. You shot lots of weddings, and I'm sure if it was in San Antonio, you shot more than your share at the Argyle Club
Oh yeah,
and all that stuff. But
yeah,
having the Neiman's background is really important because when you're photographing events and when you're in that crowd, you know, that's a lot of the clientele. A lot of the clientele who's going to be at the Houston Grand Opera Ball is going to get their garments, or their jewelry or whatever it is from Neiman Marcus. So you really did have, you had all the skills to be able to kind of be thrust into that. And I know, the very first event I ever went to was an event in Austin called Dancing with the Stars, which is like starting at the top in Austin. So I mean, it's there's something magical about kind of being thrown in the deep end of a pool without a life preserver and just
oh
figuring
my
out how you
gosh,
swim back to the wall. So, but you've done that, and you've been shooting now in Houston so many great events for many years. But think about that first event, like when you were at the Grand Opera, like when you walked in. For me, it was tough to kind of compose myself because it was just kind of walking into this world I never thought I'd be in. How did you, with their incredibly creative, often opulent themes, how did you ground yourself and get,
yeah,
and just be able to really, that was your shot. Your shot was at the top, but you delivered, and that's why you're still here today.
yes. Well, you're right. The levels of events, like the creativity that Houston Grand Opera um, did in the mid early 2005 2008, those years. Gila Percher was the event person. She's passed, but man, she was the best. And she taught me so much. But you walk in and you really do treat it like, I mean, I think I heard your Dallas photographer say this, and I was like, yes, spot on. It is a wedding. Like, you just have to walk in and treat it like a wedding in the sense that you have to remember the cast of characters, who they are, the ones that are important, capture the moment, be sentimental about it. Um, think about how the photos will be used later when you're capturing those. And then, but you also, of course, have to think about the PR team and all the players. But weddings are the same way, especially high profile weddings.
Absolutely. Well, and it's kind of right. There's a cast of characters, and I always like to say a great event, a great nonprofit fundraising event, it's very much an ensemble piece. So when you were saying, you got to think about all these different avenues and things that, there's things for marketing purposes, there's things that the PR team likes, and just kind of interconnecting all that together. And, I want to hear though, what is your favorite part about shooting nonprofit events? Like what really, because if you've been doing it since the mid 2000s, you've been doing it for a couple decades now. What has kept you doing that for all these years, and how do you still manage to keep it fun and entertaining for yourself?
Uh, I think people wonder when I'm going to retire, and I don't know if I can because I love my job so much. I just don't don't know when I will. But um, I I love meeting new people, and I love the opportunities my job allows me to hear the best speakers, the most relevant topics, the most incredible speakers, the most. I learned so much about our city and our state, and not just the arts, but the community, like civic side and the educational side. I mean, Houston and our medical center. It just so fundraising isn't just the arts, which it is really. Some of my top clients are hospitals here, and like Memorial Hermann. Man, they throw an event like they some they are so creative in their events, and they come up with ideas that I've never seen, like the things that sometimes I'll see like 2 years later they did first. I hope that's okay to say
Yeah,
that, but
absolutely.
like I mean,
Absolutely.
but like I mean, just creative. But I just love the change, the different. the people that I love the patrons, but I really love the relationships I build with the staff. And because they're the ones that are doing the behind the scenes and I mean, I don't want to jump everywhere, but uh I keep me on
Yeah,
task,
I
but
know,
but
absolutely. And
the best,
and
yeah,
here's what I'll say. When you mentioned the Memorial Herman thing, I'm remembering a couple of years ago, there was this incredible backdrop. It was like this lush green, kind of huge wall, and like Hallie Vanderheide had this like fuchsia pink dress that like just popped. It literally looked like she was standing like in front of a piece of art. Like the creativity, like you said, for a photographer, that's just got to be a dream to be able to shoot those types of
yeah,
things because it really fosters your creativity and you can just kind of go places. And I'm glad you brought up because Houston does have that perception of being an arts town, but there are so many other top events and so many other things. There's Pet Set with the animals as well as the
yes,
Houston SPCA. I
absolutely,
mean,
yeah,
there's so many other different types of organizations,
yes,
and Houston's really vibrant. And one thing about photography and creativity, and I always say that the true, even though people like myself write about the events and I write about it from the guest experience, photographers are the eyes of the event in my opinion. So talk a little bit about why having a photographer is such an important element of a gala and why every gala must hire a professional photographer for it.
okay. I I think I've worked with uh the friend.
Hmm.
I'm going to bring in the friend, and I think the level that I photograph that doesn't really happen, but it's a trust, um, a discretion and a trust factor with your photographer. Like I walk into an event, and 98% of them do not need to give me a run of show. They they wouldn't even have to give me their shot list. I know their clients, I know their patrons, I know what they want, I know what they need. A new clients, perhaps I do. I mean, I know their board members, I know what they need. I still get it, and I still want that run of show, and I still want the table numbers and all of that. But um, you need to be able to trust that somebody will capture those big patrons, and it is for Shelby Hodge, it is for the press afterwards, and it is for you know the the donors that have made their mark that should be thanked letter and a personal thank you letter. And nothing's, I mean, of course, I think nothing's better than getting a printed photo that you can actually frame, but it's a great way to say thank you afterwards when the event is over. I mean, I could go on. I don't, am I
Yeah.
answering your question?
Yeah,
I
no, you
mean,
absolutely are. And, but you bring up the importance, one, of showing up, but two, of understanding the audience. And that's really, and people will often ask me, what's the city that's easiest for me to work with from a post event perspective? And I always say Houston because the photos are always good. You always capture a broad, and you especially always capture a broad range of people. So it's not like it's the same old names. There are usual
yes.
suspects, but there are also a lot of people I've never met before, and it all meshes together. And it makes it easy because when you get 30 good shots from a photographer, the story writes itself. Like for me, for someone who writes it, that's why it's so important because what you're doing is you're storytelling, and then what they're going to do is they're going to take your best storytelling shots and then they're going to throw it out to the press so that it can be reshared.
So it's fun when a client is creative and has an exciting auction item. And PetSet does that like really well. They have the crowd loves their auction items, and you can see it in the photos, their faces, everything, the joy. And nothing is better than when there's a bidding war. I can get those run from table to table and get, those photos are fun. But so those those are also the kind of things that make my job easier, but also that that you want and that Shelby wants or whoever is running um, press afterwards. The photos that are not, the same photo. So like when I walk into an event, I do my best not to use the same backdrop over and over. There's nothing worse than a step and repeat. I cannot stand those. They're a necessary evil sometimes, but they're awful. I mean, they don't even tell the story. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
but but like some of these backdrops with the floor blooming galleries, some
Hmm.
of their floral arrangements, whoa. Like they made like I did one that was a pumpkin wall last week,
Wow.
and it was all of the Cinderella fairy tale pumpkins. That was just like, oh, I mean, like they brought in a giant truck full and it was just this wall of pumpkins and it was amazing to use as a backdrop. It was just so fun and so much better than a step and repeat. You know what I mean? Like
Absolutely. And
pile through.
it's fun that you can get creative. And kind of what Priscilla was describing there with pumpkins, those are things that are actually relatively reasonably inexpensive to do. Like I went to an event recently where basically it was a Mad Men theme, and what they did for the step and repeat was they got two vintage desks, so it was kind of like one of those corner 60s vintage desks, and they just had a volunteer do paneling on a backdrop,
Cute.
and that was the step and repeat. So that is what, when you got the photos back, that is what you got. So it was really innovative, and it wasn't something that broke the bank. I mean, for a step and repeat, you're probably going to pay $1,000 to $2,000 just to get it printed, rolled out, and all of that. So it's not like it's free per se. There's lots of different ways that you can be really innovative and creative, and that's what I appreciate about both your images, as well as Houston images in general. Is there's not an over reliance on the step and repeat. Yes, there's going to be a few photos just because few people. There are patrons that come in, there are high profile people that come in, and that's the only place they want to be shot because maybe that's where the lighting's the best or whatever it is. And just understanding and discerning those differences is really important.
I mean, bring it to a luncheon if you have to, but do not bring it to a gala. That's my suggestion. I bet you want to thank your sponsors. There's ways to do it at the table, I feel like. That can be done well without taking away from the ambiance. Does
That
that
makes
sound
total sense. And, the thing is, and, people, with the do I or don't I do a step and repeat, the thing is with a step and repeat is those photos are not as marketable, meaning that if the donor changes, you
same?
can't use it in a future year. And I'll see people use photographs from 2 or 3 years prior from an event in a future marketing thing if it really captures the essence of the theme a couple of years down the line. There's nothing wrong with that. But that's where having a good photographer and having a good relationship history like you do with so many organizations is so critical.
Well, and well, thank you. I appreciate it. The other, like when I say step and repeat, I'm talking about like the dropped, like
Yeah,
you said, the
yeah,
printed
totally.
backdrop. Habitat for Humanity did a really cool one where they built a house and people could stand in front of it. It was really cute. Um, like, I could go on
Yeah.
about all the different ideas, but there's ways to do it different that it's not just that wall where everybody
Yeah.
just lines up. But other photographers would stand by me on that one too.
Well, I think so, just because from a creativity, it's not that creative. Yes, it's important because there's going to be certain people you're only going to get them there, but it's not as creative. It doesn't really showcase how incredible the event was as photos of people at a table, people jumping up and down when an auction item is won, or whatever any of those other things are that create kind of that spontaneity. And I want to go back to what you were talking about you've been doing this for a while with the nonprofits. So, let's say a new nonprofit wants to utilize you. What is one question they should be asking a photographer, when they're looking to consider hiring them, that you're like, okay,
Okay.
you know what? This organization knows what it's all about, and it makes it really easy for me to say yes.
Okay. Uh, well, my least favorite question, but the most important one is when will the photos be turned around? So, because that just means that I'm leaving and editing right away, but everybody wants their photos the next day. I think the it's not as necessary as or that as 15 years ago. There was this pressure to get this in at like six
Hmm.
o'clock in the morning. I think that pressure is a little bit less right now, but you still need to have them done in a timely manner. You cannot hire a photographer that's going to give you photos 3 or 4 days later. You need them within 48 hours. I think that's really important. And 48 hours to me is breathing time. The next morning, I'm don't ask. I just at least, but I can do 2 o'clock. I mean,
Yeah.
the next day, and I factor that into my cost and my time. It's very important. But there's a sense of immediacy. But when I say back in the day, like man, Houston Grand Opera, I would work till 2, and they would need photos at 8 a.m. and it was rough. But yeah, I mean, not that's not as much, but I think that getting your photos back
Yeah.
is when are you going to get them is a very important question to ask.
It absolutely is. And I guess maybe some of that pressure, maybe I've kind of seen this, especially in the last decade, the more Instagram has become kind of prevalent. I don't want to say the less pressure that there is, but there's already going to kind of be some outreach about the event that's kind of already
Definitely.
spontaneously there. And
Yes.
also, it's not about getting it in print as much now as it is getting it online. And the lead time for that and the production on that side for that is much easier, to post it online than it is to, put it in print where, the Chronicle needs it for, the following day. And I mean, that's just, that type of stuff isn't as prevalent now.
So the Chronicle sends their own photographers, which I don't know
Yeah.
how it works in Houston. Sometimes my photos will get sent there if they don't send um, but if they don't most of the time my images are going to multiple like magazines in Houston or primarily Paper City or even
Hmm.
like a few different New York publications. But back to that question you were asking me, I about a new like a up and coming nonprofit. I think that maybe not as much as like what would you ask a photographer, but I would make sure that they what they give their photographer to make it easier for them would be their run of show. They need to give a new nonprofit needs to give their photographer the run of show so they know what's going on throughout the
Right.
event. And a tables chart is I mean it's always going to be the front 2 rows, but point out where your board members are. Write down the name on the table list. Like just draw some circles. That would be super helpful for anyone. And then if possible, for especially for a luncheon, but also the cocktail hours. Whenever there's a VIP earlier, like a 30-minute before the event starts, that is so wonderful. And it takes the pressure off of me to get these key photos that are so important for my client, so that I'm not having to search those people out in a crowd of 600 or 300 even, you know.
That makes
Those are
total
things that
sense.
I would put together before for whoever is going to shoot your event.
Well, and I'm glad you brought up kind of the VIP thing because in Houston, and Houston does this really, really well, are kind of the meet and greets, with high profile individuals and celebrities. So talk about, maybe share an organization that does, a VIP meet and greet well, that you kind of know going in, the pressure is off to get certain people that either don't want to be photographed candidly or whatever they are. And we all kind of know who those people may or may not be, but that it allows you to kind of get that stuff out of the way and you can kind of focus a little bit more on creativity and getting just some more really cool shots and how, how that can be done effectively.
So I don't really get starstruck anymore. I I laugh at like they when I think about like it might be like some musician or some um, politician or something that I'm not into, but somebody else really might think is amazing. So I do these events, sometimes it's like just it. I might not love it, but the people are there because they do. So everybody is special, right? And every event is special. So I have to think about that. But the ones that do it really well, I mean, I'm going to bring up Pet Set again because they bring in super relevant, fun people that everybody wants to meet. And they they do a good job at it. But I think a step and repeat is done well would be, I mean, bringing them in, doing the VIP early, knocking that out. It
Hmm.
so that it happens prior to the event, because then that celebrity typically wants to go upstairs or go away and then come back for their 20 minutes. Theater Under the Stars does it too. They bring the Broadway people. They bring in huge Broadway stars. They're God, I can't even remember the Jeremy Jordan's coming next
Yeah.
week.
Oh, wow.
So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, but if you're not a Broadway person, that's not, a big deal. But to me, that's actually kind of a big deal. But I love him. But yeah, I mean, what they'll do is they'll he'll perform, but he'll meet people ahead of time in a short like time frame, and then uh go back. But they they do it well. It's not just a step and repeat. They allow a little bit of mingling, and I think those are the best times with celebrities, where it's not just a photo, but they're able to visit, and so they can charge more and make it a smaller event. When I say charge more, donate more.
More.
I'm sorry, that's the totally
Charge,
the
well,
wrong word.
charging for a table. That, hey,
You know,
that charge,
don't.
donate, all
Yes,
goes to the same coffers, Priscilla.
exactly. It goes into the same, yes, needs. But yeah, so yeah, I mean, I think that those are the ones that people enjoy more
Hmm.
that I see. I think the photographs are better too, because it's not just that step and repeat same photo like we were talking about earlier.
Well,
But yeah, I mean,
let me ask then, because we're talking about, like you were talking about Jeremy Jordan coming in and all that. So let's talk about high profile individuals and celebrities. So how do you make them comfortable or feel comfortable when you're photographing them? Because some celebrities, I mean, it's always interesting with a celebrity event because a lot of times, even though you send the photos to the organization, it may be 2 or 3 or 4
yeah,
days before the press gets them because the
yes.
celebrity is going to have to vet them, or the celebrity publicity team is going to vet them to see which ones actually go out, especially if it's written in their rider. So, what's the trick to keep making those high profile individuals and celebrities feel comfortable?
Um, well, I am pretty down to earth. So I and I read people really, really well. So I can tell, but it's probably from shooting as long as I have. I can tell when somebody's ready for a conversation to move on. And I can read people's eyes. But I can even, their handlers do it too. But we can move, just making sure the crowd moves fast. I hate to say that because everybody wants to visit, but you can't in that
Yeah.
type of um I have had celebrities that are, I mean, Cody Johnson did I mention him earlier?
No,
I don't
you
even
did
remember.
not. No, no.
He was so cool. I mean, he even said, I am here because these guys like me. I don't have a time frame. He wanted to sit and talk to everybody as long as he could. He had his daughter with him, and he was just the most real celebrity I've ever photographed. That was a cool experience. But I've also photographed, and I'm not talking bad about Gwen Stefani at all, because she's really probably the most talented woman
Yeah.
performer out there. But her brother is her photographer, and she is really particular about photos. So I did this huge event. I could not photograph her at all. That's how much control she had over her images. Her brother shot everything,
Yeah.
which is really cool. And I respect that. I think that's awesome. But it made my job really hard because I had to get all of the VIP people without her in it
Her.
too. So she'd be in it, and then what do you do? Take her out of a photo? I mean,
Yeah.
everybody wants her in the photo, but that was hard. I mean, it was hard managing that. But um, her brother was actually pretty cool about it and kind of worked with me a bit. But um, that kind of, you just have to be flexible.
And you kind of have to be prepared for anything. And every celebrity that comes in is going to have different things. There are some celebrities that truly do not care what's posted about them, don't care at all. And then there's others that are tightly controlled. So I'm glad you gave that compare and contrast. And also with Cody, the fact that his daughter was there probably added to the relaxation element of them. So, especially organizations, if they're like, can my kid be a part of it? If it's going to make them more charming for your donors, you know, highly consider it, if not say yes immediately, for that reason, because those things all really matter with a high profile person, because you want them to be comfortable, because they're often coming into a city they either have only visited a few times or if at all, so they're not necessarily familiar with the people in the room.
Well, and then when the Bushes were alive, that
Hmm.
that was always, an honor to get to photograph them. Uh, they they were gracious and kind, and Barbara was always so funny. Um,
Yes, she
uh,
was.
it was so entertaining, and she was the most down to earth. I feel like, of almost like anyone. Like she'd meet anybody, but then she'd also be like, "Can we just make this stop? I'm not that important." But anyway, those were, but back in the day,
Yeah.
memories that just kind of popped into my head. But I mean, I don't know. Like I said, like you could get some opera singer that, some person doesn't even know who they are, but another person has loved them for years. And so they're all important, and you have to treat everybody like a diva, but they might not be. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't
make
know.
everyone feel like they're the most important person in the room for, for a minute
Exactly.
or two. And it's different, because even like 20 years ago when you first started, there was a much more limited number of people who were high profile or famous. Now there's just so many that are out there that what's important to one is not important to the other. I remember one time I asked someone who was on a global hit show to take a photograph of me because he was standing by himself in his phone.
Oh
I had no
gosh.
idea because I didn't watch that show. So I mean, it just, you never know, what that's going to be. So you just kind of have to
Yeah.
grow and deal with it. And you were talking earlier about, luncheons and galas. So and galas at night. So talk about the differences of how you approach shooting like a daytime luncheon versus the way you approach shooting a nighttime gala.
Well, they're very different. Look, I mean, it depends on the number of the guests too, I think. Like, uh, the Post Oak has so many events because of they're able to
Mhm.
handle 500 people. The lighting in their foyer is beautiful. Everybody's going to look great in it. And during a luncheon, and even in the evenings. But so you have to think about lighting a lot during daytime events versus evening events. Um, Side note, that's another way to like get bang for your buck and decor and ambiance. And most important to me, of course, is lighting. But anyway, back with the luncheon. So I think like the things to think about are like auction items in the evenings. Like I think most people, if they're exciting like the ones, Pet Set, then go
Yeah.
for it. You can do 10 really amazing ones, and you're not going to bore people. But live auctions are everybody's least favorite. They don't love them. That's when a lot of people get up and leave. I
Yeah, I
hate
mean,
even saying
but
that.
yeah, I
It's so
mean,
true.
listen, we state the truth, and it's kind of understanding and knowing your audience. And what's beautiful about Pet Sets auction is that their silent auction has items that are basically on par with the live auction items in a lot
True.
of cases.
So true. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like I've gone to their silent auction and been like, okay, in 95% of other galas in Texas, these would be live auction items on stage. So it's understanding that, but that crowd likes and appreciates auctions. And that's why they do, and that's why the auctions do so well.
So, like luncheons that are notoriously favorites are like the Men of Distinction.
Hmm.
It's a small one at River Oaks, but
Hmm.
it's a solid, very it's a great organization that David Withrich has
Hmm.
put on for a long time. So they start at 11 and they are done at 1. and you are out the door at 1 o'clock, and those guys, they are not going to stay till 2. It is over at 1 and they're back at home or work, wherever they want to go. But lunches that go on and over for 2:30 or 3, you could just see the pain in people's eyes. I mean, I I know that sounds terribly
No, no, but it's
mean,
true.
but
But no, but it's true, and I'm glad you say that because a luncheon, it's in the middle of the day, so not we're not in a world now where it's just ladies who lunch. It's, a lot of people who are professionals. I see it all the time in every city. A lot of professionals go to luncheons. So it's not just, women who are going to, drink 3 bottles of Chardonnay and go God knows where. It's very different now. So being mindful of time is so critical. I mean, and it's being
it's
on like that one organization at
yeah.
River Oaks Country Club from 11 to 1. That's really how every organization should approach a luncheon. Time is finite. At a gala, it's a little different because afterwards, some people may go to an after party, but other people are going to go home and go to bed.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and one thing I've noticed, like with evening events, and this has always been the case, but you used to be like Dallas might not agree with me. I could see them not agreeing with me on this one, but
Every city's a
DJ,
person.
everybody's different. I could see Austin agreeing with me on this one, but you don't have to hire a band. I feel like as long as you keep people on the dance floor in the evenings and they're having fun, you can get a great DJ. And there are so many good ones in Houston. I'm sure there are everywhere,
There
in
are
every
everywhere
major city.
now.
But
Yeah.
yeah, and it was so like look frowned upon even 10 years ago to have a DJ at a big gala, like a big like you know, a 500 person big
Yeah.
gala. But I have seen this one DJ with LED screens that does video behind from like 80s MTV that match all the songs.
Oh.
Oh, everybody loved it. Like you couldn't get people off the dance floor. And it just made the event so fun. And I had fun photographing it because everybody was having so much fun. Um, but anyway, yeah, so you don't have to do the band thing, but I think as long as you can keep, like in the evening event, keep people on the dance floor. For a luncheon, don't go over time. Don't, at either one of those events, don't serve wine that you can buy at Walgreens. Do
Okay.
not serve four hands. I'm serious, I've seen it.
Thank you for bringing that up because if someone is paying $500 or $1,000 a ticket, certain expectations are met from people,
Yeah.
even if they are giving from their heart and out of kindness.
Hire the DJ and serve better wine. That's what.
I think that's Houston's motto. Hire a DJ and serve better wine. That's Houston's motto. That's their bumper sticker for 20 for
We
all
have
time.
really good musicians though. I don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I don't want to do any disservice to the people that do that line of work too, but we have people, we bring in people from everywhere, from Vegas, from all over the place.
Uh,
But I just think that as long as that people are having fun and they're going to stay on the dance floor, that's what you want at the end of it all.
and you get really great candid shots. And that's to me, like, that's one of those subtle ways for me, like, from a media perspective, when I see photos. If I see the quarter or more of the photos from the after party, it means that there were lots of guests that were there
Yes.
a really
Yes.
long time. You only get one or two, it's like, okay, the after party. Some people say, but it probably wasn't that great. But if you're getting like 6 or 8, it's like, okay, it was raucous and people were staying a really long time and people were
Yeah.
painting the town red and doing all those things.
The yes, yes. I feel I'm bringing up recent events that have been in the last month. So like,
Yeah.
but the Pet Set one though, that was fun. Like the that was a brunch, and
Hmm.
that was a long boozy brunch, and it was
On a
fun, and people
Sunday,
stayed
though,
on a
there's a
Sunday. Yeah.
difference. It wasn't during a weekday, it was
Yes.
on a Sunday. So you're allowed to be long
Yes.
and boozy
It
on a
was
Sunday.
great. It was fun. Everybody had a blast, and but it was on a Sunday, and it was a lot. It was a brunch though. It wasn't a luncheon. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
Well,
so something different.
absolutely. And, I want to talk about, really quick, talk about theme decor and how that helps you as a photographer capture the essence of an event through the photos that you take.
Well, it's hard to be creative and not
Hmm.
repeat, right? I feel like it's hard to be creative and not do the same thing through the years. So like I love Alley Theater's galas. They
Hmm.
always pull from a play. And so they'll do like a Sherlock Holmes or something like that. And it they embrace the theme. And it is always really cute, unique, and fun for photos. Uh man, I just it if those kind of themes can vary and not be
Hmm.
the same after year. I mean, Mardi Gras, please. Or like I
Some
mean,
things get overdone, but yeah, I mean, a
yes,
theater, they can kind of pull from plays and all that. And you're so right, because that also keeps the guests on their toes. Because I found that themed events or great events that do different themes every year, and there's actually an event in Dallas called the Mad Hatter's Luncheon that does this. People really get into it if the themes vary from year to year and the following's devoted enough.
cute. That's would love to see photos from that event. I
Yeah.
bet they're wonderful. The but back to lighting and ambiance, like the and I'm sorry I've said the
Well,
word
no, but
like three times in a row,
you're
but
absolutely right though that that adds to the theme and the decor of the event to have the lighting correct. It's so critical.
luncheons or evening galas, those lighting is it sets the mood, it sets the ambiance when you walk in. Even uplighting, it's so inexpensive and it just can change everything. I the Barbara Bush literacy luncheon was last Friday and
Hmm.
or Thursday, I don't even know. And the lighting was so good on stage. I told the the audiovisual guys, thank you. Like
Yeah.
you they made my job easy. The lighting was so beautiful and spot on. Like I just could do my job where sometimes, I mean, I'm having to do post edit for
Yeah.
another 2 or 3 hours because everybody looks red or
Hmm.
pink and or blue. It's awful.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so those are things to think about that are I mean, they're you get bang for your buck with lighting. It really makes a difference. Like
And
you can pull back on some things, but do not go like go all in for the lighting.
And I always like to say, and those things are really important because, I always like to say that memories live in your mind subjectively forever. Photographs live forever and tell the moment as it really was. And when you have the thing like correct lighting and all that, that just enhances it, and it enhances it's a visual reminder of just how great it was, especially if someone's looking really good, in that photo. And I've seen people take photos from galas. I've heard of people that will download photos that, I've posted of them online. They'll print it and they'll frame it for themselves. Like, I mean, it really, doing that is really, really key and really critical. And I know we're coming up on time today. But Priscilla, I always like to end with this type of question. I know you're going to probably have a really fun answer. And that is, what is one thing all great galas and signature fundraising events have in common?
What is one thing that they all have in common? The good ones, the great
The
ones?
great ones.
It's the staff. It's the staff. It's the people that are working behind the scenes. It's the guys that are running the show that the chairs are having to answer to for a year before the event that you roll up on for 4 hours. I mean, those the good ones go too. Like I want to say, if you've got the good ones, hold on to them because they will go. They'll go to another organization. They always do. So hold on to the good ones, and they're out there. We have so many great people that work for nonprofits in Houston. Then their hearts are really in it. It's pretty cool. But they're the ones that make it great. Really, they really are. But I got to give a shout out. I don't know if a lot of people know this. My brother is a photographer in Houston too. I don't know if you
Oh,
know
I
Wilson
don't.
Parrish. Wilson Parish is
Wilson's your
a
brother? I didn't know
Wilson's my
that.
brother. Yeah, yeah. I'm telling you, it's a family affair. Okay, you ready for this?
Alrighty, go for it.
Jacob Power is my cousin.
Oh my
Do you know
gosh, you all
Jacob?
are the photography mafia of Houston. I just got
Yeah.
done watching the Philly Mob
Yep.
Wars when when I was a kid and lived up in
Yes.
Philly. So you're the photography mob wars in
Isn't
Houston.
that funny? Jacob's been doing it 10 years. I adore him. He came in, you know why they work here? Because Houston has it all. Like we have everything. There's not enough event photographers that are good. Trust me, Daniel's
Uh,
good. Michelle is good. We've
yeah,
got great. I could go on, but of course I love my brother and my cousin,
of
but
course.
we have enough for, I mean, there's a need for us. And yeah, that's it. I mean, I just wanted to give those guys a shout out though.
Well, their photos are great, and Houston. There's a reason I wanted to have you on today because you embody so much about what Houston's about. This was so much fun. Everyone in
Oh,
Houston is
thanks.
fun. Everyone, you don't take yourselves too seriously. You just
No.
enjoy life and do things, and that's what I love about Houston. It's what I love about your work. And Priscilla, thank you so much. This was just such a fun conversation. Thank you for being
Oh,
here.
I enjoyed it so much. Thank you. It was such an honor to get to be a part. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And for more information about Priscilla Dickson and Priscilla Dickson Photography, please visit ppdphoto.com. And that will do it for this episode of Fun and Fundraising. I'm your host, Rob Giardinelli, reminding you to keep it fun, keep it interesting, and your guests will have a great time. Have a great day, everyone, and take care.